Hey closers, this is Maxwell here with Helpmeclose.com. Today I have a special treat. We have Mr. Cory Bray, a big Garth Brooks fan here with us, and he is one of the founders of CareerSofia, which is this really cool software that helps people like me and you and our sales coaching. So how are you doing today, Cory?
Fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining. So introduce yourself a little bit.
I'm the founder of CareerSofia, along with a handful of other folks. And I've built sales training programs while on the executive team at 3 different companies. And every time it felt like I was doing the same thing over and over again. So it's like the same structure with different nouns, different verbs, different numbers. And I've done the Sandler sales training program for about 3 years with 2 different coaches. And it just felt like I could build a software product that could replicate a lot of the kind of foundational work that I was doing and put managers, executives, and external consultants in a position where they could spend more time on the higher value work as opposed to just the basics that are just cranking, doing a lot of this more administrative type work to build the foundation of their sales coaching program. So that's what we're trying to do is put that platform into place, and so people can really, up their performance across the sales organization.
Right on. So you and your team, you've developed the software CareerSofia, and you can share your screen here and show us a little bit what CareerSofia is, how it works, and how it can help teams, close more deals.
Totally. Well, so this is the current version. It's funny. We've actually built 2 versions before, and I threw them both away. And that's one of the things that I've found you kind of have to do when you're building a software company from the ground up. If it doesn't resonate with the market, just keep turning it over until you find something that clicks. And I'll tell you, after doing about 50 user tests over the course of late Q4, early Q1, this is what we've come up with, and it's feeling good.
So I can see here that it integrates right into Salesforce, which is awesome.
Exactly. And that was one of the problems we had with the first product we built, is that it was on our own domain. And a bunch of my friends that were in sales said, man, it's hard to get to. And you've got good content there. It's helpful. But what I found is if your friends that are in your target market won't use your product, nobody's going to use your product. So that's one of those signals from the market that says, hey, man, keep going, try it over again and see if you can get it right. So that's when we applied for the Salesforce App Exchange, got listed in late 2016. And then this is the second version of the Salesforce app that we've built.
Awesome. And do you guys, just while we're on the topic of different CRMs, do you integrate with any other CRMs besides Salesforce at this point?
We don't today, but it's a product that is really outside of Salesforce natively, and then it integrates as an iframe, and so it could fit into other CRMs or pretty much any software product that'll take an iframe.
Perfect. So how does it work?
Well, when I was a individual contributor sales rep back in the day, what I'd always do is I'd walk into a deal and I'd look at what I'd put into Salesforce here. Okay, here's the pain I found, the budget, the decision. And in my mind, I have to figure out what should I do next. Working with a sales coach, that was a great benefit, but it's super expensive and a lot of people don't have bosses that'll pay for that. So I was able to spend an hour a week with my coach walking through deals and saying, look at this deal. What do you think? And the process was basically look at the different attributes of the deal, think of these in the context of me as a salesperson, and also think of them in the context of our company. Where are we strong? Where are we weak? What do we really need to do to move deals forward? So what we're trying to do here is take a computer software program that simulates that experience of saying, hey, senior sales consultant, manager, account executive, what do you think I should do? And then surface that coaching right here inside of Salesforce. So what you see is a handful of fields here that we're pulling from. So do they have a sales consultant? This is something that we use in our market. What personas are we selling to, and who's our competition? So all of these are mapped directly here. And so we're able to wire it up to any fields inside of Salesforce and then automatically filter the product based on what we see there. So this is the product Um, the words here don't matter. So it's a pure tech play. We're not trying to be management consultants. We like working with management consultants because they can develop all this great content with their clients. We're just trying to take that big playbook you've got. Maybe it's a 50-page playbook. Maybe it's a 300-page playbook. Structure it in a way that is navigable, and then be able to surface specifically what matters based on the deal you're working on. So we saw that we're working with a VP of sales in this case. So maybe I could go down here and say, okay, for a VP of sales, what's the call script I use? And script's a loaded word. Some people don't like scripts. And so we can say, all right, here's just some phrases we'll use for this one. I'd had enablement executive here. Maybe I'm not going to be involved with enablement right now. So I can just X that out. It disappeared from my deal summary. Roll down VP of sales. Okay, what do they do? I know that. What's their pain? How do we win? Okay, remind me of that. So as a salesperson's thinking about the buyer persona, I was listening to Noah Goldman's podcast yesterday, and they had the Zoom conference sales development team. We're on Zoom right now, so that's kind of cool. And they were talking a lot about buyer personas and how it's really helped them collaborate with each other and figure out what sales tactics work in different scenarios with different personas. We're trying to be that system of record that takes all that information. So it's not in a Slack channel or in a Google Doc or in somebody's mind. It's in our product and then surface to everybody, the experienced reps or those new hires that come on board, right when it can have an impact on their deal.
Yeah, that's extremely valuable right there. Being able to, especially if you're a brand new rep or a young account executive, maybe you haven't worked that many deals and you're going in to close some deals, and all that information is right there ready for you. That's pretty awesome.
Exactly. And then you've got guys like one of my mentors, Rick Schatz, who's a enterprise account executive at SAP. And his thing is, when he goes into a new role, how do we compete in this market with our products? And that's something that even somebody who's as senior as him would want to come in here and say, okay, how do we compete against these guys? How do we win? Where do we battle? How do they win? And then when they make claims, how do we respond? So it's a great tool for the junior folks, but it also has elements that are more relevant to senior people as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So who's putting in this information? Is it the account executive as they're getting experience, or how does that work?
Well, you can click this little edit button up here. And if we go into a specific section like email scripts, for example, I can just pop up and edit. And if I have edit access, I can go in and do anything I want. I can change, any of these fields. If I want to change my pain qualifying questions, like boom. So anybody who has access to admin functionality can go in and edit. So you might let your best account executives, maybe not best, but most tenured sales development managers, sales enablement folks, anybody that wants to jump in and be able to contribute content can do it this way. Or if you want to, you can go in and have what we call user-generated content. So this button, add objection, can be available to anybody. What we found is that objection handling is something that you really rely on those frontline folks, the sales development reps, the account executives, to source this data. And so they can go in and put it in here. And once it's in the system, we could send an alert to the manager and say, this was just added. We could, one of the things we'll have in, next week or 2 weeks from now, we're going to have a little thumbs up, thumbs down button next to each one of the pieces of content. So it's kind of like Facebook. You can like something. And as you like it, it gains that social proof. And so it'll be surfaced more often. And, so you can crowdsource what works instead of just relying on one person to have more of a top-down sales coaching process. It's actually sourced from the front lines.
Yeah, that's huge. That is a big one right there. Because I'm just thinking about, me and myself. In my experience, if I'm on a call, having that resource, being able to look and, okay, I get this objection, and then being able to see right there how I'm going to handle that objection when I'm preparing for a call. This is just so much more effective than you as an individual kind of being out on your own every single call. You have the coaching right there, and you can see what works from your past experiences, And then also you can see what works from, your fellow coworkers.
Exactly. Because I'm sure people have shared things with you that you said, wow, that's great. I want to remember that. And then all of a sudden, once Slack's, 20 items deep, it's not there anymore, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah. And it's in one ear out the other sometimes too, if you're not applying it right then and there. You can say, okay, well, next time I get that objection, I'm going to, I'm going to try that, but hey, it might be 1, 2, 3, sometimes maybe a week before you see that objection. And then chances of you actually applying what you learned are slim next to none. But if you have this right there in front of you, while you have Salesforce open, while you're on the phone making calls, yeah, that is hugely valuable right there. That is awesome.
Yeah, and that's where we really see traditional training break down. You take people in a classroom, you talk to them for an hour, you give them a PowerPoint presentation, and then they go sit at their desk. 2 days later, do they remember everything? Can they apply it? It's tough. It's really, and it's no person's fault. I mean, we're human beings. We forget most of what we hear. And the really valuable part of sales training is the application, not sitting in the room and looking at the slides.
Yeah, absolutely. If you can apply what you learn and study, even a fraction of what you learn and study, you'll be way farther ahead than your competition.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think here's another cool part. So this external content piece, I haven't really built much of this out yet, but so we have a few white papers, and I just store them on Google Drive. And when we started, we were thinking, okay, most sales enablement technologies out there have a couple features, right? A lot of them have this video coaching thing. I don't really understand that. I think that when you're going to coach a rep, it should be one-on-one, or you should just deliver the specific messaging they need, not necessarily record a video and go back to it later. So we're passing on that for now. And then the other piece is this content management piece. And the cool thing is Google and Dropbox are both amazing document management systems. They've got all kinds of features built in where you can always link to the most current version. They can do version tracking and all of that. So basically we said, look, let's just put permanent links inside of our product. Let the product marketing team or other groups within the organization manage that piece within a really strong document management framework. And then we'll just surface the link to the specific content within the product, so the salespeople don't have to think about that.
That's awesome. Yeah, because a lot of account executives and salespeople, they spend a lot of time looking for the right content to share and use, and having it organized right there in Salesforce, that can save them a lot of time. And as you know, if you can save time, that opens up more opportunities to close more deals.
Exactly.
So that's awesome.
And Max, let me unpack what you said just a little bit. They search for the content, but I have a different definition of content than a lot of people. A lot of people refer to documents, PDFs, PowerPoints, things like that as content. I don't think that's content. I look at content as words, phrases, and sentences. And that's really the future of content to me, because you give me a 3-page case study, I don't care about the 3 pages. I mean, I care that it exists, and so I can show that social proof to my prospect. But I want 2 words here, a number, and maybe a sentence. That's what we call sales content for salespeople.
Yeah, that's important. That's a great point that you make there, Cory. Especially, I've heard a few statistics. As times are changing, as technology improves, our attention span is getting shorter. And I actually heard recently that the average millennial has an attention span of 8 seconds,
Oh, wow.
if you can believe it. And so being able to have short, impactful words, sentences, and phrases, like you said, that sharing that's going to go a lot further than sharing a 3-page document that someone's probably going to glance at, look through really quickly, and then move on to something else.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think in my experience, the only people that really care about that thick, heavy print content are tire kickers who aren't actually going to make a buying decision, and people that are involved in some kind of technical validation or security review. The latter is super important, but you send me a 60-page Gartner report, it's cool that you're on the quadrant. Got it. That's all I need. Or, send me a case study from XYZ company. Just tell me that company uses you and how you're successful. And maybe at the end of the sales process, I might want to talk to him or at least look at that video that you had him shoot. So that's the thing. It's about taking it down to that 8-second level that you're talking about, because that's where we're living these days. And that's really all you need to have impact.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the best way, I guess, for someone to get in contact with you to get CareerSofia, and who is CareerSofia for?
Yeah, I mean, the best way to get in contact with me, I'm on LinkedIn. I think my email address is on my profile, and my cell phone number is on my email signature if you actually have talked to me before. So that's it. And in terms of the product, I think it's for inside sales teams that have between 5 and 200 sales reps that really have invested in sales training or coaching in the past and are looking for a way to extend the impact of that investment. So people that have an external sales consultant engaged, that really feel that they have value when that person's there, but want to augment them with a software product that can help really be on the sales rep's desk 24/7, saying the same types of things that consultant says when they're on site. I think that's probably the best use case.
Yeah, definitely. That makes a lot of sense, because if you're, already paying to have your team trained and meeting with the, meeting with a consultant, if a consultant, paired CareerSofia with what they're saying, that company they're consulting, they're going to see much higher ROI from bringing in that consultant, because it's going to stick. So
Right.
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and that goes from sales training consultants all the way up to sales management consultants that might be doing playbooks. Like, I'm a huge fan of playbook development, but to me, there's really a time and a place for that. And the time is when you feel like your business is under control and it's going to be stable for maybe the next 12 months or so. Otherwise, there's such a fluid nature to a lot of what sales teams do these days that you print something out that's 50, 100, 150 pages long. Nobody's going to read it, first of all. And when they do, it's probably going to be out of date. So putting it in something that's more digestible, that is super easy to update with the click of a button, I think that's the transition that we're going to see from management consultants developing written playbooks to putting their content into a product like ours.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Cory. Thank you for the quick demo and sharing with us how CareerSofia works and how it can help us close more deals. Before I let you go, I do have to ask, I noticed that you updated your LinkedIn picture recently and you got the Garth Brooks hat going on. There has to be a story behind that hat.
Yeah, okay, this is a hilarious story, and I'll go ahead and say it because it's funny. So my buddy Dave, I won't say his last name, calls me up. It was in September, it was Labor Day weekend, and he said, "Hey man, I'm going to get married in 2 weeks, and I need to go to Vegas with you before I get married." And I'm like, "Okay." So I go meet him at the bar, and he was like, "I want to go right now." I'm like, "All right, man. Well, I've got hundreds of thousands of airline miles since I flew over the country for my last job. And so there were no flights that night." He said, "Dude, I want to go to Vegas right now." I said, "All right, I've got it handled. We'll get an Uber." I live in San Francisco. So came home, grabbed my backpack, called an Uber, and I don't know, 10 Uber drivers later, somebody accepted us, had an 8-hour Uber drive to Las Vegas, woke up, went to the pool all day, had some lunch, took a nap, and we went to Garth Brooks. Dave bought me my Garth Brooks hat, and I used some points we stayed the night, played some cards, used my points, got us flights home, and rock and roll. And it's funny because I was really frustrated. There was a Business Week article about 3 months later that talked about the longest Uber ride ever, and it was like 6 hours. We paid the dude off meter. We gave him like $500 or something like that. And so we're not officially the longest Uber ride ever, but we might be.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was going to say that is quite a long Uber ride right there. So that is, you should contact Uber, let them know. And, that can be your claim to fame right there. Longest Uber ride. That's awesome.
Well, that's not what you were expecting when you asked me about the hat, was it?
No, not at all. But that's a good story.
Yeah, that was great. So Dave had one last hurrah before he got married.
And then it's good you got flights back instead of having to take Uber back. That would be a long trip, I can imagine.
Yeah, it's harder on the way home.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks, Cory. I appreciate you taking the time being with us, sharing with us CareerSofia. And I will also share some links and your email address so people can get a hold of you in the show notes. Any last words or anything else you want to share with us?
Just keep pushing, keep pushing. You got a goal, you'll get there.
Cool. Thanks, Cory. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Max. Talk to you later.
Have a good one.